Riding the Coronado Trail Scenic Byway, Part 2. Also known as Old Highway 666 or the Devil's Highway. Running north-south in eastern Arizona in the Apache-Sitgreaves National Forest. This is Part 41 of our ride from Texas to California and back. Starting at Stray Horse Campground, where we spent the night on the Scenic Byway. We had a whole side of the campground to ourselves. Although the campground is just off the road, this is a lightly traveled road, especially at night. I think we had 2 cars pass us the entire time we were here. We have ridden the Coronado Trail Scenic Byway a few times. This trip, it was our plan to camp in the mountains. This is a beautiful and peaceful spot. We even heard the elk in the morning. Campgrounds off or near the Coronado Trail are run by the U.S. Forest Service. There are a few campgrounds, like the one we went to, not far from the road. Most of these have a pit toilet, but in most cases, that's all. For example, the campground we were at did not have water or trash disposal. There are no stores on the Coronado Trail. However, there is a restaurant at Hannigan Meadow Lodge. There are a few dispersed camping sites in the area. Most of these are found on hiking trails and not something you can drive to. The Coronado Trail gets more twisty as it goes farther south. There have been a few signs already for large vehicles to turn around. I believe this is the last chance to do so. We are passing by an area of an old fire. The north end of the Coronado Trail, our last video, we did ride by some active fires. There seem to be fires along here every few years. Most of them started by lightning, and some of them quite large. The Coronado Scenic Byway runs from Springerville to Clifton in Arizona. However, the most twisty parts are from Alpine to Clifton. The total byway is 123 miles. This may sound short and fast, but with most of the road speeds going slow around corners, it'll take longer than you'd think. There are approximately 460 turns. As we continue our ride south, the turns get sharper. Although we are going up and down in the mountains, today's ride, we are slowly going downhill. Starting off our ride today, close to 9,400 feet above sea level, making the Coronado Scenic Byway one of the highest highways in Arizona. At the end of this video, we will be close to 3,500 feet. With such a curvy road, this is not the fastest way to go north-south in Arizona, which may be one reason it's one of the least traveled federal highways in the United States. Although known by motorcyclists, it's number 11 on motorcycleroads.com Best Roads to Ride in America. It does snow on the Coronado Trail Scenic Byway in the winter. Usually the road is plowed during weekdays, but not always in the evenings or on weekends, and has been known to close for a few days in storms. We are slowly making our way down the Mogollon Rim. The Mogollon Rim runs from Flagstaff to western New Mexico. The Coronado Trail Scenic Byway crosses the rim. We started near the top of the rim at the beginning of this video, and will end the video below the rim. Passing a cattle sign, and we have ridden over a few cattle guards. There is open grazing in the forest, which means a possibility of cattle on the road. We did mess up with the GoPro and miss a section of our filming between the two stops we made ahead. Between those stops were more twists and curves, as well as cattle and cow patties on the road, neither of which you want to hit, especially on a motorcycle. Seeing a place to pull over and take a minute to enjoy the view. These gravelly pullouts are one reason I enjoy my bike. I used to ride the Road King and it would freak me out on this gravel. Now on my BMW Adventure, I'm good. Our first stop, looking over the forest below. Our second stop, as we're lowering in altitude, getting out of the forest area and into the desert. And the road keeps getting twistier as we get farther south. The sign is welcoming people riding the other direction to the Apache-Sitgreaves National Forest. This stretch of the Coronado Trail Scenic Byway is probably the most photographed. Even with the narrow road, almost no shoulder, and very little places to pull over. Makes me glad we have the GoPro to get the great view. Yes, that is the road we're riding on below. Around a few more corners and we'll be there. We have ridden this road a few times, and we have ridden it both directions. I've heard a lot of people comment their favorite direction to ride on this road. I prefer the direction we're riding, north to south, to get the views. But I do prefer the north end of the road with the forests. One reason we camped at the north end instead of camping at the south end in the more desert area. Looks like he's starting to come in our lane, but catches himself. This road does have great views. I do slow down sometimes a bit just to check it out. This area is considered a high desert. We will stay in the high desert area for the remainder of this video. Still keeping our eyes open for wildlife. It changes from elk and deer to mountain sheep. There are Rocky Mountain bighorn sheep in the area. Up ahead is the Morenci Mine. This is an active mine and there may be blasting. We have never had to stop due to the mine. The Coronado Trail Scenic Byway goes along the mine or through the mine for approximately 10 miles. This is an open pit mine and it's one of the largest copper mines in the world. The mine produces between 700 and 850 million pounds of copper a year. The area was first mined in the 1860s by gold prospectors. Today, over 3,000 people work at the Morenci Mine. Coming into the outskirts of Morenci. You guessed it, the biggest employer at this small town of Morenci is the mine. We We are still on the Coronado Trail Scenic Byway. Although you can't see it, the mine is still on both sides of us. There are mine tours available a few days a week. The tours are by reservation only and made at the Morenci Motel. The tour lasts about 2.5 hours. This section sometimes gets a bit dusty. You can see from the residue on the sides of the road. Something you notice on a motorcycle and probably wouldn't in a car. Still coming down from the mountains, we can see the town of Clifton below. To our right is downtown Morenci. We're taking a short detour off the Scenic Byway to have lunch. The original town of Morenci was called Joy's Camp, and it was built on the side of a hill. In 1965, the old Morenci was taken apart and the new one was built, giving the new Morenci the reputation for being a modern town. The town of Clifton. Passing a warning sign for mountain sheep. We have seen Rocky Mountain bighorn sheep on a previous trip to Clifton. I do have that on a video and will put it in the description. To the right, behind the wall, is the historic street of Clifton. Clifton has been known to flood. I know they did build a flood wall. I'm not sure if the wall to the right is a flood wall or not. If you know, please put it in the description below. I also have in a previous video our visit to the historic downtown, including a famous mural by David Tenio. On the right is the Clifton Cliff Jail, which is a jail inside a cave. Also on my previous videos of the area. In 1864, there was mining of gold and silver in Clifton. In 1870, mining turned to copper and a smelter was built. Next came the railway, and this became the industry of Clifton. I'm not sure if this wall in front of us is another flood wall. If you know, please add it to the comments below. Thanks for joining me on our ride down the Coronado Trail Scenic Byway. We will come to the end of Clifton and the end of the Scenic Byway. Hit the notifications bell and you'll be notified for our next video. We are riding more twisty mountain roads in the Apache-Sitgreaves National Forest. If you enjoyed this video, please hit like, subscribe, share, and add any comments below. Please check out my other social media to follow my moto adventures. I'm guessing this is the flood siren for Clifton.